How is everyone? Welcome. Oh, look at everyone straight into the kind of chat. That's lovely. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Potty Mouth Garden Club. We are here. There we go. And let me just tell you, the owl boy, 20 seconds before we went live, 20 seconds has just come in and thinking, oh, look at I've dropped a little clanger there. JB, I've got my live going on as well, so I kind of have to turn that down. So, anyways, we will run the intro and then we'll get straight into it. Yeah, so welcome. I've just had to kind of crash and shut my Google Chrome page there because it was stuck on me. And that's such a you know what I mean? What a junior mistake, schoolboy error. So welcome everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Potty Mouth. Just to give you a heads up, we have one more week next week on this channel, and then we're moving all shipping boat over. We're going over to this YouTube channel as well. So there's a link in the description. So please. One more week after this one, and then we're away. We're gone. We're out of here. So, Discord as well. Don't forget, we are on the Discord if you want to kind of pop over and have a look there. And just someone mentioned last week that was expecting us to be all in the Discord after this show. And to be honest, we're shattered after this kind of high, intense public appearance. You know what I mean? These kind of so. We might not be there straight away, but it's a 24/7, the Discord. So do pop over. There's links in the description, everything. It'd be lovely to see you over there and show your pictures. If you've got a YouTube channel, show your YouTube channel. So let's introduce our guest there, Stephen. Are you good?
Good, sir. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm
How's the
very
weather?
good.
What we got? 17 degrees there in Cockermouth.
It's lovely, isn't it? Balmy here. It's
Balmy,
completely balmy.
Red hot summer there. So is everything good? Is the garden going all right?
I've just noticed a little problem this week. I hadn't actually taken much notice, but you know my new polytunnel at the back where I'm doing all this new fertigation thing? I hadn't been watching the flower trusses on those tomatoes, and they haven't been setting. It's got too hot in there over this last couple of weeks. You know, I've got the ventilation on the big tunnel.
Oh, right.
They're all setting fine, and I'm getting loads of fruit. But I just noticed the other day there's only like half a dozen bunches of fruit on there on the plants that Audrey sent me. On the Crimson Crush, there's fruit coming, but again, not many. So I've ordered 2 more openers for the windows, and I'm going to get them fixed up in the next couple of days, and hopefully that should turn things around.
Right. Well, funny enough, Steve, now I've had all my tomatoes are kind of set away, but the one aubergine I got sent over, it's getting flowers on, but it's not getting fruit on. Now, actually, I was going to mention this later on today, but we haven't kind of chatted about is that. But my doors are open. Could that still be a possibility that it's too hot for the?
I don't know with aubergines, to be honest, Tony. I've never really experienced that. Normally, I've got a few aubergine sets. Normally, that for me, they normally come all the way at the early part of the season to mid-season, and then they kind of stop for me. But that's always been down to the ventilation, I think.
Right.
I've got a couple set now. I'd say there's probably 2 or 3 that I can harvest. And in the main tunnel, me peppers, you know, I've had experience with them in the past. Not ripening. I've got peppers ripening in the main tunnel at the minute.
Is that these ones? Is it?
No, they're tomatoes. They're Jersey Devil tomatoes.
Oh, right. Funny enough, because I've seen you put a link in, and I thought you were just taking the mick out because you don't like chili peppers. So I was just thinking it was a kind of. Now I've just actually. Looks like I've just gone off the screen there now. So let me just check. Oh dearie me! 1 second, I'm going to bring in a back in camera there.
Look at that! Wow!
Oh my God, So
why have one camera when you can have 6?
Exactly. So that's a tomato, Steve, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Jersey definitely.
Wow.
It's like a paste tomato they call it.
Right.
And when you cut it open, there's virtually no seeds in it. It's all meat. It's a beautiful tomato. It really is. I've tried to grow them before and never been successful really with them. I've had one or two, but this year they're doing me fine.
Right.
Really
Right.
good.
Oh, I've never seen them. What were you going to, Audrey? Were you going to say something?
I was going to ask him if that was an indeterminate tomato.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. Nice.
Remind us again. Indeterminate are the ones straight up, aren't they? Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it is.
Yep. Yep. Audrey, while you're on the screen, hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing? Are you fine?
Great. We're threatening to get rain today, so I'm very excited.
Ooh.
But I'm also not believing it until I see it.
Right. Since the last time we had it, have you had rain since we talked last
No.
time? Right.
No,
Blimey heck. Eh?
no.
Jerry.
It is spit. We've gotten a spit a few times, but
Uh-huh.
it literally was a spit.
Right.
So it didn't do anything.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's supposed to thunderstorm, so we will see. I hope it just rocks and rolls for like hours. That would be great.
JB, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do Audrey. I was trying to do two things at once. Switch my camera on.
Okay, I
and
know
off.
that's hard for you, Tony.
How are you doing, JB? How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. All good.
Good.
Similar to Audrey, though, wishing for rain because
know.
it is dry here. I cannot remember the last time we had proper rain. It's been a very long time.
He's sitting there thinking, I'm getting more rain than a bloody.
I know.
I mean, I've got to cut my lawn again. It's nearly 4 inches high, just growing so quickly, and it's so lush and green, and it's wet, it's raining again, and it's just growing and growing and growing.
I watched your video about the onions. You're picking
right.
and it's just like, honestly, I kind of where's me applause? You know what I mean? Just fantastic. And then, funny enough, JB has put his. Now, and it's not, JB, I'm not, there's no way I'm kind of, because, mine, I get them ones, but it's got to be water, Steve. That's all it can be. Surely, because JB said he's put them in, he's kind of left them. You said you put yours in, you kind of left them. So surely it's got to be like the amount of water that you're getting, can it be anything else?
I can't think. The only thing I can think of really is that because I'm no dig, that will feed the onions. But I think I've made this conscious decision this year to not use a hose pipe or try not to. And what I've been doing is when I've been putting crops in the ground, I'll use the hose pipe to water them in, to soak the bed. And then I'll walk away. If they look like they need water, and if the mulch on the top is not keeping it moist underneath, I'll water with a watering can. And that's all I've done this year. But those onions and the shallots and my garlic and elephant garlic, I haven't had to water at all this year, which is pretty stunning, really.
So what do you say, JB?
Well, what's the bloody point?
What is the bloody
the ones that you just showed there were by far the worst. They're the worst rows. Some of them were okay. Weirdly, I didn't have much white rot this year. I was looking at the onions doing really badly as they were growing, and I thought, they've all got white rot. They're all going to be horrible. Most of them were fine. They're just tiny. I think probably dry weather.
I tell you what, mind you, JB, I tell you what. Do you know what I mean? Me and Steve used to be the kind of YouTube pin-up gardeners, but we've got to just take a back seat now. Do you know what I mean? Your little tight T-shirt. I watched that video there. You've got this like he's got this Italian vibe going on there. Do you know what I mean? All the ladies and all the men must be thinking, "My God, let me get a calendar of that fella."
Sun's out, guns out.
So what's the bloody point? So while we're on, let me just get rid of them onions one there. There we go. I forgot to mention. Oops, I've put them back on. The onions.
I've gone quite red there.
The Italian
Yeah.
stallion of gardening. Can we just, if you want a question answered, I forgot to mention, in the comments, if you're alive tonight, we will answer some questions. And just put a capital Q or a Q before your question, space, then the question, and then I'll be able to find it. You know what I mean? So that would be nice as well, so we can have some questions, because I've got some notes, but we're always like happy to kind of answer some questions, and it kind of makes the show your questions. So put a capital Q and put your questions, and then we'll answer them as well. Right,
I've got a question.
Oh, Stephen, fire away, sir.
I've got a question. I've been watching you and following you for ages because I think you're fantastic. And
Are you
every
talking
time
about me or JB or Audrey?
Oh, no, you, Tony. Oh, you yourself. And every time I go on the page on your channel, it says Tony C. Smith at the top. And I'm thinking, what the blinking heck does the C stand for? So
Right,
there we go.
right,
Is it
right.
Clementine?
Oh,
Or is
look
it
it, look it.
Carruthers? Or is it Carson? Or is it Cody?
Well, I tell you what, we'll
I
just
think
go.
it-
Give
I
us your
think it's a Colin.
a Colin. Right,
I
right,
think it's a
right.
Colin.
You're saying Colin. JB, what do you say?
Well, it reminded me of Arthur C. Clarke with your sci-fi
Ah.
background.
Yes,
I wondered if
that's-
it was a bit of a, you know.
Oh,
What,
Well,
I've just put it in for the the aesthetic kind of reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Audrey, have you got an idea what my surname is?
Let me think, because your Tony Smith does not sound English to me.
Right, right.
So I'm trying to think. It sounds almost like standard American / Italian a little bit. So the C might be for Corleone.
God.
I think that would work.
That would
That
work.
works for
I could
me.
pull that off Audrey and Whitburn.
You
Yeah, yeah. The
You
north,
could. You
north
had
of-
enough personality
on the
to
time.
pull that off.
No, it is. It is actually. Are you ready?
Yeah, go on then.
Charles.
Oh, someone got
thought
that.
it might
There's
be.
a few of that in
Oh.
the chat.
I
Charles.
saw a couple of guesses there in the chat there, and I thought, yeah, that's
Yeah.
got to be it. It'll be Charles.
I was named
It was
after
either
my
that or
granddad.
Colin.
Colin,
I
yeah.
must admit, I prefer Clementine. I think that's much nicer.
I could probably pull off a Clementine. You know what I mean? So, let's see what
Brilliant.
I've got. That's what I was going to ask. Just a nice little daft one to kick off. Don't forget, questions are popping in there, so that's great. Audrey, if you had one, and I think I know what Steve's answer is going to be. If you had one
No, he
tool,
doesn't.
Audrey, one tool,
Oh,
what's your favourite
without
tool?
a doubt, Hori knife.
That's mine as well. Yeah. And you introduced me to that kind of knife. You didn't introduce you bought us one. So
Yes,
and
because it's. Remember, I saw you with that little silly pocket knife trying to cut through the broccoli stem, and I thought, "Oh, come on!" There are so many better tools.
you know
out
what?
there.
You
So I was born
Audrey,
out of sadness.
you don't
that I
mince
said
your
it.
you don't mince your words, eh? Oh, for Christ's sake, Tony, man. You know what I mean?
Oh, it was. I was yelling at the screen. Actually.
Well, Audrey, when like you say, I hadn't heard of it, and actually when you sent the email and that, and I was thinking, I didn't know even how to pronounce it, even though looking at your word, I was thinking, Hori. This is just. But then I actually got the knife, and what a weighted. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's like the perfect thing for just. I tell you what, for dandelions. Do you know what I mean? They don't stand there.
Yeah.
It's good for
A
just
mother
about
chance.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If I only had one, that would for sure be it.
yeah, that's you. I kind of knew. I knew you'd pick that. Now I'm gonna go to Steve now, and I think he's gonna pick something totally different. Shall I tell you what I think you're gonna pick, Stephen?
Yeah, go on then.
Right.
And I'll pick the other one.
Exactly.
Do you think?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, his finger.
It's homemade gibberish.
Well, I wasn't actually thinking of that. I was thinking more of that.
Right.
My big claw thing, the thing I showed on here
Oh, right.
a couple of weeks ago. that's a brilliant tool. You can do almost everything with that. I mean, I've also got my trowel, of course, and my dipper. You know, I've got them all.
Well, it's funny. It's funny, Steve. You know, because like the trowel, that works. I think so much better than any tool. You can because you can do that. Do you know what I mean? So you make a little trough in the ground. Yeah, you can kind of, you know what I mean. But that's what I do, and it's just you might not get it straight.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? But kind of
doesn't matter, does it?
It's especially with no dig. Do you know what I mean? I think it kind of it seems to your fingers and hands seems to work. You know what I mean? And anything else you want to kind of.
On today's video, I was planting purple sprouting broccoli, and these were going like 7 or 8 inches deep into a no-dig bed. And again, it was just this, just digging down, parching the soil, planting and down, and then fist it down to that sounds rude, doesn't it?
I know. Steady. What? It's not me this time. It is me.
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Oh, it's getting weird.
You've really got to firm the ground around there, brassicas. So,
well, it's funny. I was up to date because I just haven't been doing it, Steve. But mine, I've just got mine set, and I was going to wait because I wanted to give mine a little bit longer in the pots. So what size was your purple sprouting broccoli? I just wanted to, because I think it might be you or JB said they've had better results with being in longer in the pot, you know, like a bigger plant to then transplant out.
Well, I have to do that with a lot of plants here in Cumbria with the cold weather we get here. Like my dahlias are almost 3 or 4 foot tall when I plant them out, and I start them off in pots in the polytunnel. And I do the same with as much things as I can, really. But these purple sprouting broccoli today, some of them were 20 inches, and they were grown in a seed bed inside the polytunnel. And then you just dig them up so that the bare root, when they come out the soil, plant them out straight away into your no-dig bed, and they'll sulk for a week, and then they'll start growing again.
And have you covered them up straight away, or are you just leaving them to the elements for a bit?
I'll cover them up this week. I haven't covered them today, but I've got some more alkathene pipe to cut up, and I've got some covers to find in the shed, and I'll get them on in the next couple of days before they start getting mullered.
It's I think it's a great veg as well, Steve. You know, I don't know if you've grown it, JB. We'll get back to your one tool, JB, but it's just one of them veg where you, like you say, you've got to do it now, but it's for that hungry gap next year. Do you know what I mean? You've got to really kind of think it out, and they grow like tree trunks. You know what I mean? I've still got the 10. Do you know what I mean? They're still like that, like they're almost like walking sticks. You know what I mean? So.
You can buy them. You can buy walking stick cabbages. Have you seen them?
No.
They were a thing down on, I think it was Guernsey. They were a thing down there where they were having competitions every year. You grew these cabbages. They were on very long stems and very thick. And the idea was that you harvested the cabbage and ate it, I think, but the stem you would make and carve a walking stick out of. Right. And the whole of bloody Guernsey had these walking sticks made out of cabbage stems. It's incredible.
I love the way we kind of just go down a rabbit hole. How can we get cabbage walking sticks? You know what I mean? It's
well, you invited me here.
JB.
Sorry.
No. JB, what would you say is one of your favourite tool or?
The hurry is up there. Wait, what was that?
What did you say?
I said a mirror. Sorry. 2 strikes, 3 in a row.
Poor lad.
So I got a hurry this year. It was for my birthday, actually. And I do really like it, but I think it's much better for raised beds. I've got quite stony soil, so I find it's not perfect for everything. Some of the less turned over beds it kind of struggles with, and I get worried about like blunting it. So I retire it for the nice stuff.
Can I just jump in here, JB? When you said,
yeah,
because I can't see the garden from the grass and the weeds here. I'm struggling to find out where your bed is in between that.
Well, this is what I was going to come on to for my favourite tool, which is
I mean, it doesn't matter. He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah, I got the guns out. The lawn edger that I got this year, that I use for the beds, has made one of the biggest differences. And about I don't know,
you haven't used it
2
on that
minutes
bed
on
then,
from
eh?
that frame.
Right?
Yeah, you can see I have had a go at the bed with the edger, and it just makes such a difference. But yeah, that bed is pretty messy. I'll give it to you. But
I'll be honest as
I
well,
did sort it out by the end of the video.
I'll be honest as well, JB. I kind of struggle with all that grass you've got there, man. I'd have the tiniest plants.
I'm getting rid.
It just
Yeah,
seems
I'm getting rid.
it seems to be a lawn with a couple of. I would like. I don't know if it's ever possible. I'd love to have like a drone shot of your garden, just to see what's actually. What kind of beds?
Yeah, send me a drone.
Yes.
No, so I have spoken about this a few times in some of the videos, but I am getting rid of the paths basically. When I started out, I had 1.2 meter wide paths. No, wide 1.2 meter wide beds with a little kind of grass path down the middle, and they're just so much work to keep on top of. You know, the grass, if it goes over, it sets seed, and then that gets in beds, and it's a bloody nightmare.
Yeah.
So I'm just digging them over. I'm turning them over, and I've already done that on one half. So where I had the potatoes, that potato bed used to have 2 more paths down the middle. They've all been turned over, and I just find it is so much easier to keep on top of it when it's all been turned over, and you just got one big bed. So that's one for the winter. But yeah, I will still have that main grass path down the middle that will kind of go to the greenhouse, just because it's nice to have something a little bit green, and that should add a bit of structure. But yeah, generally, most of the rest coming up.
Right, then let us just have a little go at the questions there. Marion's asking, I have Brussels sprout plant that is reshooting again in the last week. Will it be okay to leave, or will I pull it up? Will it give me sprouts again this year? Now, funny enough, Marion, what I wanted to do, I think I'll have time, but I've gotten me times wrong with Brussels sprouts. But I wanted to grow some just for the greens. So I was going to just. Oh, there goes me bloody head.
Oh, hello.
Hello. 1 second, I'll just put the daisy camera.
Bye.
I don't know why that keeps on going off. I think there must be a timer on it.
Macintosh.
So I wanted to kind of. Does it come back on there? Marion, I wanted to kind of grow different, like Brussels sprouts, some for harvest, but some for the green tops. So if it was me, I would leave them to see if I would get some more green tops. But I don't know the likes. Audrey, what would you do with Brussels sprouts? Would you leave them or pull them or?
Well, I don't know that they'll grow a new top. Once you pop that top off, I think it totally signals that the Brussels sprouts need to start if they're not. I have never tried to regrow Brussels sprouts. I mean, I grow them a lot just for the leaves because the leaves are so good. I don't know that they would resprout. It seems like once you pop that sprout off,
maybe they wouldn't re-sprout, but you would get some sort of green leaf. And
I would think anything like any kind of brassica, any kind will still grow leaves. So maybe it will. I just have never done that, so I can't say for sure.
I guess for me, I would kind of want the green leaves. I don't know, Steve. What would you go for?
Well, bye, Tony. Who's gone again? I mean, with the Brussels sprout, the stem grows up and you get the sprouts on the stem, obviously. Is Marion talking about the stem has gone and it's regrown from the roots?
I'm not 100%. I have a Brussels sprout plant that is reshooting again in last week. Will it be okay to leave it or will I pull it out? Will it give me sprouts again this year?
Well, if it's a new stem, it might. But the thing that would concern me is, would it grow true to the variety that you had previously? I mean, it might do. I mean, it's certainly a worthwhile experiment to do. But personally, I would rip them out and put new ones in. That's my own opinion. I'd want to know that what I'm planting I'm going to get a harvest off. Because once you start messing around with the genetics of plants like that, and they start diverting, you might lose some of the qualities. I mean, they might grow nice sprouts, but they might taste foul. You just don't know. But it might be worthwhile having a go.
What do you think, JB?
No idea. I've never done Brussels sprouts. Never, but there's lots of people in the chat saying that you should leave them and let them go to flower, because those flower sprouts are amazing. So I guess it would be similar to a broccoli.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. I guess, like Steve said, it depends. Have you got the space for an experiment, or do you need a reliable crop? I'm always leaving stuff in and just seeing what it does.
I like I say, I leave it in to a certain extent, but then you know what I mean. It always comes a time where I wish I just pulled it in the end as well, because I've never used it. You know what I mean. So maybe I'm just talking a whole load of waffle there, Marion, as well. Let me see. Right, Craig is asking, why are my cucumbers gone spiky? Now, I'm not. Is that just not a variety that's kind of got like maybe you've left it too long? It's a variety, isn't it?
I think so. That's what I think it is. I mean, lots of cucumbers are traditionally gone. Things like, a variety called Telegraph will grow a long cucumber, and they're quite smooth skins. Some are, some aren't. And I think the ones we get used to, the ones we see in the shops all the time, are the ones that are easier to handle, i.e. smooth skins. Can't be damaging them customers.
What? JB, have you had any, have you grown any cucumbers?
I have, yeah, we've taken a few now. I think 5 or 6. Most of my plants, like I planted out 5 or 6 plants, and most of them just have not had a good time, apart from one, which is like exploded, and that's where I've had most of the cucumbers.
Right.
They're spiky little things. I'm not sure what variety it is, because I'm a bit like you with my labels, Tony.
My labeling is worse than anybody. Do you know what I mean? Even when I bother, JB, to put it on, the bloody writing, I cannot read the writing anyway, so I don't know why I bother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I did Market More and Masterpiece, and I think they're both spiky. So it's fine. They taste nicer than shop bought, but sometimes the skin's a little tough, and you've got to give it a bit of a rub down.
A what?
Right, that's it. You're not rubbing down cucumbers. Right. The ladies and the men have just turned away from you there. You've just lost your audience, man. Bloody hell. Audrey, what about you then with cucumbers?
I think it's the variety. Some are spiky and some are smooth. And, you can, as JB said, you can just rub them off. If you don't want the spikes. Or, whatever. And usually those
are Stephen, man. Come on, my God.
Well, I haven't done anything.
Sorry, I stand by my rubbing the spikes off, Steve.
Right.
Right, okay.
Wait on then. I'm having to use, because I don't know if it'll come up. See, I'm blank on that one, which is a bit of a shame. There's a one here from Elizabeth Lowe was saying, which is my cucumber in my greenhouse was thriving. Over the last 3 days, it's totally clapped. Is it too much water? Right. Stephen?
Well, is the ground too wet? I mean, that's the simple thing. Again, homemade dibber, put it in the soil, see what's going on down below first. Plants can collapse from either too little water or too much water. But normally when plants get overwatered, you'll see some yellowing in the leaves as well.
Yeah.
That it's not always the case, but it's another signal for the gardeners to take notice that something is going amiss, and time for you to investigate. And always start with looking at the stem of the plant. Has it been attacked anywhere? Has it changed colour? Have a look at the leaves, both sides, see if there's any little animals or beasties or signs of animal poo, if you like. Have a look for them. Are the edges of the leaves ripped or scorched? Yeah, just do some basic checks and form a picture, and from there you can generally work out what's going on.
I would have thought, just hedging me bets with a guess here, that because cucumbers like a lot of water, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Kind of like thirsty plants. So if it was like out of a, I would have probably said more drying or another, what Steve's just said there, more than too much watering. Because I've been getting some cracking cucumbers, but I've been just hose piping them. Do you know what I mean? Over these last few hot days, just totally kind of more water than.
Something else that's just sprung to my mind there. If the plant is too dry, because it's a cucumber, you'll generally see the leaves go limp really quickly if it's too dry. And the other thing that can happen is they can rot off just above soil level. So if they have been watered too much, if you're overcompensating for dry weather, if too much water gets on the stem, it can start to rot the stem. So have a look at the stem at the bottom couple of inches and make sure all that's hunky-dory. Even part some of the soil around the stem and have a look and see what's going on.
Audrey, has this ever happened to you? I'm not just saying like, say, a cucumber, just say any kind of plant. You've kind of your prized possession, and then all of a sudden she just goes, and you kind of keep.
My indeterminate tomatoes right now are near death, and it's not for lack of water. They're on a south-facing. They're growing up a south-facing wall. I think it's just been too hot for them, and so I don't know. I mean, we've gotten a nice harvest so far, but I'm not sure they're going to make it with this heat. So, a lot of plants too, when it gets too hot, kind of shut down. They're not going to produce fruit anymore. They're going to kind of try to make it. But everything about the cucumber, I would just agree with what Steve said. But yes, there are times that they seem fine, and then one day it's like, what happened to this plant? So,
Audrey, can I just see in the background there a little certificate?
Yes.
Someone got their level one junior certificate.
Yes, with my Minnie Mouse ears. Yes, right there. Yes.
That's
been there for weeks.
I've just noticed it.
Yeah.
Has it been there for weeks?
Yes. I was going to put my Charles Dowding certificate right next to it, but this one's more important.
I was going to say, to be honest, mind you, Audrey, I am totally, you know what I mean? I'm kind of one of them, looks in the fridge. Where's the butt that's right in front of you, and I cannot find it. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
if it's been there, if it's been on your shelf for weeks, I still, you know what I mean? That's just me there missing it. JB, have you had any problem? Well, you've had any problems in the garden. You were our go-to guy when things go wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a kind of frustrating thing, though, isn't it? When you kind of, and especially when you don't know what it is. That's kind of that's for me the thing. Do you know what I mean? You just lose a little bit of you know what I mean?
You might say, "What's the bloody point?"
Exactly.
When that kind of thing happens. Yeah, it is frustrating. What's the bloody point?
I wasn't quick enough for you there, lad.
It's interesting. Someone else in the chat as well, Jane, has just said they had a disaster with Marketmore. I'm wondering if it was a bit too hot for them because they're more of an outdoor tomato. No, they're not. They're an outdoor cucumber. So yeah, maybe it's the heat that did them in.
We're getting through this show on a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. But like Steve, I mean, that was very comprehensive from Steve, wasn't it? He's very good.
Oh, I know he knows.
I think all the problems that you could have, he's listed off. But I have seen mine. Mine have wilted, the outdoor ones, where it's been so dry.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's an issue of lack of water, I think they do let you know with the wilting. And in the greenhouse, it could well just be temperature. If it's got really hot in there.
Well, we're talking about temperature then, JB. You sent us over this picture. which is
Oh, my
green and
goodness.
pleasant England without any
yes.
any green grass because of the temperature. Now, just tell
You
them
can see
about this picture.
Well, you can see the trees are still just about hanging on in there, but you can also see the amount of leaf drop on the floor. It looks like autumn, and it just shows how dry it's been here. The lawns, the grass has just completely had it. It's been so long since we've had proper rain. When I was digging up the potatoes, it was so shocking. Because you go quite deep, and the soil was just bone dry, absolutely bone dry. So I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge the next few weeks for the plot.
Well, I mentioned this, JB. Is this, because I was talking to my wife about this kind of thing. So is these like last few days or last few, say, month, climate change, or just do you think a freak hot summer?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not particularly qualified to answer. I don't keep up with climate science or anything like that. I think generally it's a case of warmer, wetter winters and hotter, drier summers, isn't it? That's the general pattern that we expect to see in the UK.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of. I mean, droughts aren't particularly uncommon here. It is quite common to get into kind of hoseband territory.
Not in the northeast of England, sunshine.
Yeah,
Not
no,
Northumbrian
indeed.
water, I'll have you know.
Down here, we're kind of used to it, but you would still expect a bit, more rain. Just occasional kind of. Not like complete deluges for weeks, but enough to keep stuff ticking over, certainly at the kind of surface of the soil. Walking down that cycle track and seeing some of the smaller trees like buddleia and elder, they have had it. They look like my peppers the other week, when they've not been watered. Amelia's just said in the chat, the apples, and my apple tree, that is a really good point, that my apple tree, half of them are turning red already, even though they're absolutely tiny. That apple tree is definitely stressed. And you see all the kind of crab apples, down hedgerows and all that. They're just looking really, really sad.
I think that's the good point with this photograph is, because I think we're all used to seeing burnt dry grass and we know it kind of comes back. But when you see that, it's just like an autumn picture, that with them leaves on the ground from the trees are just, the trees are getting stressed out as well. Do you know what I mean? Steve, do you think it's climate change or we're just having a freak hot year? Well, not in Cockermouth. For some reason, it's bypassed. It's bypassed Cockermouth.
Yeah, we're the only people who have had decent rainfall this year here in Cumbria. I think it's got to be a touch of this climate change. I mean, JB said it well there. Warm, wet winters and hot, dry summers, and we are having more of them. We're having less frosts and ice through the winter now as well. It's not killing all the bugs off, which is causing problems as we move into spring as well. So we've got to adapt and change to that. That's, on top of everything else we have to deal with as gardeners. We've got to change our methods and things.
Audrey, I mean, I know you've got like slightly different weather to us, but you've got more severe, then you've got more heat. But have you noticed your actual times or seasons have changed slightly?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't know if it's a cyclical thing. I do believe there is climate change that is causing glaciers at the poles to melt. I mean, there's some things we cannot deny are happening. I know from when I was a child, I mean, I've essentially lived in the same area my whole life. We would have feet and feet and feet of snow. Like it was hard to get out the house. I don't have that now. And there's a hummingbird right on my bush out here.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you guys! Oh my God!
Wasn't me, Audrey. It was the old. It was the old one and the young one. I'll tell you, Liddy.
Well, what do you call a buddleia if it's not a bush? Okay.
You get them told. It's just filthy. Huh? Dirty boys.
The hummingbird is so beautiful. Okay. What was I talking about? Climate.
Hummingbird on the bush.
Yes, but I think things are more drastically different with heat and with our winters, yes. Our
Yeah.
winters are warmer, our summers are hotter. Absolutely.
I'm just looking at you've got 26 there, but it's overcast. So you've got no.
Well, and it's only 2:30 in the afternoon.
Mhm.
We're not close to our high yet.
Yeah, so it's still bloody hell.
We're still climbing.
I don't know if I could handle that, to be honest. Greece kind of, the hot temperatures was kind of so hot. Out and about.
Well, I'm in a 70-degree climate controlled air conditioned home right now, so I'm fine.
Oh, I know. It's like you've got to.
You gotta be.
Well, you'd have to.
Yeah.
You'd have to have that, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm just noticing out and about with Lightly's is asking, have any of you guys, ladies, sown onion seeds in August for overwintering? And if so, they stay outside or in a greenhouse over winter? Stephen, now I'm hoping to do somewhere. I haven't checked the dates. If it's a Monday, Boxing Day, but I wanted to do. It would be nice to do like a Boxing Day sower onions, because that's the day you sow your onions. But
it is, yeah.
Steve, what about sowing onions for overwintering in August?
I've never done it, and the only knowledge I've got of that is for those exhibition growers, and they will build like a big tent inside a polytunnel, and they'll heat that tent, and they'll start their onion seed off. But these are the guys that are growing onions the size of my head, and I've seen that done. And they'll start them off under lights in sort of August time, and to go all the way through to the next year, and hopefully a champion onion. That's what they're going for.
Well, I've noticed
Peter Glazebrook, he's a man for that.
Well, I've noticed, doesn't Dan Allotment Diary? He used to grow like big onions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So was Dan doing it, Steve, in like sowing these seeds in August or not?
I think so. If not, he was close to it.
Right.
I know the real dedicated ones. The only name I can remember, there was about half a dozen of them. They were all sowing, as I just described, in sort of August or very early September, under lights, and it was all the care and attention and pampering. They had 50-litre tubs full of special compost to grow one onion in.
It's funny because I was going to come on to this, Steve, because I'm. That kind of dedication and all that. I must admit now, I'm struggling a little bit with fertigation. With not the fertigation, with the feeds we are using, where you've got like the three different, I forget what, master blend. I liked the Calmag where it was like 3 mils in a watering can mix up. Personally, I'm kind of, you know what I mean? It's like, and I know you say you can do it quick, but it's just, I don't know. I'm a little bit. How are you finding? Are you still finding it okay to do the because I stopped. We know we had you got a little kind of scales, and I got the little scales, and we're weighing out.
Yeah.
Are you still weighing out every day that kind of little thing and putting it? Because I stopped that within a week, and I'm just doing teaspoon here, teaspoon there, and I've I can get away with a Calmag. That's easy enough. I used to squirt it a bit into that. That's actually it looks like Calmag. I'm drinking Calmag.
The only reason I'm measuring it out is so that at the end of the season I can say, right, I've used this much. This is the estimated cost of it, and you know yourself, Tony. I've bought some more stock, which should see me right the way through next season as well. And I'm hoping then at the end of the season I can say, right, I've had this from these tomatoes, and from these plants, and this is what it cost. And whether you use it is up to you, because it is quite expensive. So I'm keeping it as, as to the directions I've been given. I'm just trying to keep it sort of real. I am tempted, I must admit, when I walk in the morning and think, oh, bloody hell, I've got to do this again on some mornings, and I am tempted to just do a teaspoon of this and a teaspoon of that. But no, I'm sticking to the regime I've started. That's the whole idea of a test. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it as best you can for what you can do.
Well, I'm like I say, I'm glad you're doing it, Steve, so we can kind of see what it is. But because I'm afraid I've kind of slackened off a bit, and like I say, it's a teaspoon here, a teaspoon there. It's a little bit of kind of one watering can's not the same as another. I mean, I'm still getting a nice crop. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean, but it's not.
The-
I've done it. I'm not doing the tests no more. Shall I say? What, JB?
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it's a bit labor intensive, a very easy way to overcome that, and you've probably got space in the poly, is to get a water butt in the polytunnel, fill that with X amount of water, find out the ratios.
I know where you're going. It won't work.
It won't work,
It's all
Steve.
got to be freshly mixed.
It's all got to be freshly mixed. I mean, Glenn, I was speaking to Glenn about it about 10 days ago because I had the same idea. Can't I just mix up a big butt and water butt and dip my can in there, you know? Don't stop it.
Is it the heat or
Who's
something with
talking about
these?
big butts?
Bloody hell, man! It's like.
But yeah, it's something to do with the way they react with each other, and it doesn't
okay.
quite work out how you think.
Very good.
Funny enough, I think I've got my battery back. Let's just see I'm on there. I'm back on with that one now. I'm running on a battery on this camera at the moment. I don't know if it's to do with I've got this like electric cable. But I was going to ask you that, Steve. That's the one of the questions because, like you see, I'm not running out of steam, but I'm still going to feed. But I'm running out of I've run out of patience with the measury Dr. Sciencey.
We thought you
bit.
would.
That was a given, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It was a given.
It was.
You know what I mean? It's like, I think I lasted longer than what I thought, to be honest. You know what I mean? But
It took me 3 days to tell you that I'd bought the scales to do it with, because I thought, I know what he'll do. He'll go out and buy them because I've got them.
well, generally, and you said it takes us 10 minutes, and I thought, well, that's all right. But then it was just, it's a bit like me coffee. With the coffee, I am, because I know 19 grams, I need 19 grams, and I didn't want to have that, because you weigh 19 grams, that's me kind of coffee, but and I was sitting today, it was 19.3, and I'm tapping my teaspoon, I'm thinking, I'm doing that up at the bloody, no, I'm not getting into it, so that's why I kind of backed off from that. But there's a good question then, Steve. Even all that kind of fertigation, high boost feeds, not in that third polytunnel, you're still struggling then, the heat, because I would have thought that feed would have protected them a little bit more than what a normal.
No, if the heat's not right, it just stops the actual tomato setting on the vines. Mm-hmm. And I know that, again, from past experience with other tunnels and greenhouses in the past, if the temperatures aren't right when they're setting, then they won't. And I think they call it dry set. I might be wrong on that, but it'll just stop them setting completely. But I'm hoping to reverse that, in 2 days' time. And hopefully tomorrow these window openers will come, and then the day after I can fit them, and then I can start to reverse that fortune. Some tomatoes are setting. The Barry Crazy Cherry, they're growing now. I'm starting to get fruit on there.
Yeah,
and it might also be that because those plants were sown later, it might also be because of that as well. I don't really know at this stage, but I've just noticed there should be more fruit there.
I'm getting the Barry's Crazy Cherries of not starting to ripen, but they're starting to them branches are starting to fill out with fruit, and they're just bizarre looking. You know what I mean? When you have even say a good Gardener's Delight stem, it might have say 20 tomatoes on it. It's nowhere near what these Barry's Crazy Cherries are going to be like. And Audrey, are you? Because I've got a picture. Let me just. So have we got any? Is there any in there that are Barry's Crazy Cherries?
We tasted one. I think I had 2 ripe ones. I'm on the fence about the taste.
Oh, right.
But I don't normally like a pure yellow tomato. Mm-hmm. So I like them when they're yellow with some red in there. But like the yellow pear tomatoes, I grew those one year. And I just find them kind of mealy and flavorless.
Yes.
But that's just my, my palate.
I'll do them.
The brats the berries were a little disappointing.
You sent over the yellow pear for me, Audrey, last last year, I think.
Well,
And yeah, I
not
think that's got
everybody's
that.
palate is the same, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people like yellow tomatoes a lot.
But Audrey,
Yes.
that tomato there is,
Oh, that is so good.
isn't it? That's
It's so good.
so this,
That
if
is the black
anyone's looking,
strawberry.
yes, a black strawberry tomato.
Oh,
And
those are
Looks
so
amazing.
good.
Steve, did you get any of those or not? Or
I've got some in. I've got some growing. I think I've got a couple of fruit on them at the minute. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get some fruit off that
They
to
are
try.
delicious tomatoes.
so, Audrey, then
Okay.
going back to your tomatoes, what can we see in this picture? I can see some black strawberry ones, and I can
there's
see some
Brad's Atomic Grape.
Brad's Atomic
up
there in the
near
top.
These are some Sun Golds underneath that.
Right.
The big one in the upper right corner is Adelaide Festival Dwarf. That grows on a determinate. Very, very, very good tomato. And I think this green one right here is an evil olive.
God.
That's what it's called, and it can be used in place of tomatillos. So I'm gonna try using that to make some salsa and see how true that is.
So,
Because it's a much easier plant to contain than a tomatillo plant, because they just take over.
what does it taste like, Audrey?
It's really very good taste.
Right.
It is a little different than the black strawberry, but it reminds me a little bit of a Brad's Atomic Grape, only meatier.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna once I make salsa out of it. Oh, and I think the red ones under the Brad's are Juliet's, which are just a different kind of.
All right. Yes, I can see them in the kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you been getting, Audrey, a tomato harvest for a while, or are you just starting to come into it
that
now?
was my first. That was really my first one.
Right.
And like I said, my indeterminate are struggling right now. My determinate tomatoes there's hundreds, and they're starting to turn red, or whatever color they're supposed to. So we're going to have a great harvest of my indeterminates this year.
Mine, talking about great harvest. I just want to point you back again, Audrey, just to JB's harvest, right? I just want to, right?
He had a great harvest.
You know what I mean? Look at that harvest of Audrey's. JB, what's going on? What's going on, man?
Oh, come on.
That is a lovely harvest there. So, and I'm guessing that's not all of it, Audrey, or is that all of them?
Well, that's my onions.
Right,
yes,
right.
That is plenty of onion. So that was about 200, I think, that we pulled.
Man, that's a.
Yeah. And the Elsa Craigs are up here, which are they're up at the top. Those are the biggest ones, but they won't store as long. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
All I can say is you've got a lot to learn, young man. You've got a lot to learn.
I'm trying.
What's the bloody point?
Well, that's actually one of me topics, Steve. And we're kind of, what's the bloody point? But running out of steam, for like a new gardener that's kind of taking it up. And I always find as well, like this kind of glut season, it doesn't knock us, but it's not as exciting as like the anticipation of growing everything. Once it starts coming in, I'm a little bit. What could you give any advice? Because obviously you don't suffer at all from what's the bloody point. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like running out of steam. You've been doing it since you were 5. I cannot see you stopping. The size of that, and you've got like say that size allotment, which would stop most folks, would like get on top of them in that. So can you give any tips of like how you don't run out of steam or hit a wall?
Well, I think firstly, if I didn't have a plot so big, I don't think, obviously I wouldn't do as much, and I think I would end up actually stopping at some point, and I probably would run out of steam.
Right.
I've got to have something to, at the minute, I've got enough jobs to do down there for the next 3 weeks, and I've got to get them all done in a week. and I'm always like that every single day. I'm always playing catch up.
But is that
I don't know.
not one of the points that I'm kind of like, like for someone who's new, it just gets like this snowball. You kind of control it, gets bigger and bigger. Because I'm going up there and I've got nowhere near that, but I'm thinking, right, and even down to the point where I'm noticing like little seedlings coming again on freshly
Yeah.
weeded garden. I'm thinking, bloody hell, you know what I mean? And does it not get on top of you?
Sometimes it does, and it has in the last 3 or 4 weeks, really, because I've had to spend more time at home recently for various reasons. So, yeah, if you have to leave that behind for a while, then jobs will get on top of you. But just plod away, just set yourself a target. And one thing I always do is, if, for instance, I've got a big job, let's say I'm going to clear a bed and then plant something else, I'll break that job down into many little items. So first of all, it's getting the tools out to do the job. Then it's getting myself at the bed, and then I'm harvesting whatever needs harvested. Then I'm clearing the bed, then I'm raking it, and then I'm getting my next plants ready to go in. So everything is broken down into a series of jobs. So no matter when you stop, if you have to stop halfway through, you've succeeded. You've done something that you set out to do. And if you do it that way, you always walk away from your garden fulfilled, as opposed to, God, I didn't get that finished. That's probably the best thing.
You know what I mean? That's a good bit of advice there. I think that's kind of, again... I tell you what it is, Steve. With me, it's like, you see, especially now, I'll go up and I think, right, I want to do some work in the garden. I want to kind of plant. I want to sow. I think, but first I've got to water the tomato plants. Do you know what I mean? So, I've got to water the tomatoes. Then I've got to harvest. I've got to get a harvest for the night's tea. And by that time, I'm thinking, I've got to do, well, this is a little bit of it. I've got to do a video. Do you know what I mean? You kind of, that's a little bit kind of different for most people. But by the time I've done that, I'm thinking, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking a lot of people must do that. And I tell you why I'm thinking this, because I've never seen, the top allotment from me. I haven't seen that I haven't seen that lady back. There was someone there who was doing that.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the same month when and I'm thinking, I wonder if she's kind of just been a little bit overwhelmed. Or she might be on holiday for a month. You know what I mean? It might be poorly or anything. You know what I mean? I'm just surmising. But it was what gave us the idea for the kind of topic, running out of steam. JB, to be honest, I think if you don't run out of steam, you know what I mean? With having, like, say, that would get me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you say, a messy garden with stresses. Yeah. No, I'm being kind of, it would kind of stresses, which I would have to get done. Do you know what I mean? And then get on top of this. I've got to get it done. Are you one of those just laid back kind of?
So I've got a few points I'd make. I definitely agree. Very difficult time of year, because we go from kind of the traditional normal garden jobs that you've got most of the year to also having to deal with gluts of food. Preserving, cooking, doing all this extra stuff with them on top of the normal lot. And second spring as well, so you've got XYZ to be planting and planning for the next few months. It's also very hot, so it's quite difficult being outdoors and working. So you have to kind of adjust a lot for this time of year. And the main thing I do is just prioritization. And one of the things that is at the bottom of the priority list at the moment is weeding, which is why some of the beds look like they do. My main priorities are taking care of what's there, making sure that everything is watered in the greenhouse, making sure that I'm keeping what I've managed to get this far
alive.
And then, exactly. And then you kind of think about harvesting and sowing more, and weeding is maybe it should be higher up my priority list, but this time of year I do get very laid back about the weeds, and as well I'm quite laid back because they're not really growing. Because it's so dry, all the weeds are just kind of having a tough time as well. Weeding just...
Funny enough, JB, that's what's not happening because I'm watering all the time. So all this heat, all this water is just kind of making weeds like a happy little... And I mean, it's probably nowhere near weeds, but it's enough for kind of me. but it is that kind of running out of steam. Audrey, have you got any advice for running out of steam, or just picking yourself back up and going to the garden, or?
Yeah, I actually employed some help. I asked my husband very nicely if he would please weed some areas for me, because he doesn't like to plant, he doesn't like to harvest. He just puts up with it kind of because I love to, but he doesn't mind weeding. So I was like,
Oh,
could you please? So
Right.
he was in our back 40. I'm telling you, he was weeding for like 2 hours. And, that's where the garlic was, and that's where some of the onions were. So you know how weeds just kind of get up in there, and he was pulling out some things that looked like small trees to me. So I would say there's no shame in asking for a little help.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yes, there's a weirdness because I'm determined whatever we grow, we're not wasting.
Yeah.
So I either have to find someone to give it to or I have to preserve it. So right now, my
Mhm.
dehydrator is going 24/7. I've got two ferments going. We just froze a whole lot of things. So it kind of morphs from gardening to now how do I preserve everything I've grown?
What are you fermenting, Audrey? I love fermenting, to be honest.
I'm fermenting pickles
Right.
in one of mine, and I have a kimchi going in the other.
Nice.
Right. So what have you used? So that means Stephen, Audrey's grown a bloody Chinese cabbage.
Yes, I did,
Right.
but
Well,
it
not.
didn't
oh,
head. It did not head, but I used all the leaves, and it turned. I mean, it worked just as well.
Well, I've just this last 2 days. Today is probably a fortnight. So my sauerkraut is ready now. My first batch of sauerkraut, and I kind of had a little
Mhm.
taste about 3 days ago, and it's just like, get in there. Do you know what I mean? Get in. That what? And it's like I don't know if it took. I can't remember how many cabbages it took, but it's a big jar, and I totally squashed it all in. So there's a whole load there. So that'll last a good. You only need, like I say, a tablespoon sort of size on. That'll last a
yeah.
while there. So
Nice.
I know, Steve, we had a chat through the week, and you were kind of preparing or prepping to like put away the turnips. Is that right? Did that job get done?
Oh yeah, it's all in freezer now. It's all
Right.
done. All cut up, blanched, and frozen, ready for the winter. So I can pull it out for soups, casseroles, whatever I'm making. You know.
Is is the prepping the worst part of gardening? Because I know for me, gardening's the best part. Prepping's a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you're doing this kind of prep for freezing.
Not for me, because I'm an ex-chef. So
Uh,
I started when I started as a commie chef in the kitchen. It was kind of normal to go in the kitchen at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 9 o'clock you'd peeled your way through 5 sacks of spuds before you'd had breakfast.
mhm.
That was normal. So prepping and doing food like that is it's second nature to me. It's
Very nice.
you know
Yeah, there's no stopping it. There's a bit of advice, just kind of keeps you going, Stephen. You certainly keep
and
me
that's
going, Stephen.
I,
So
I, I could do all that standing on one leg and playing the guitar as well.
I know.
Now that I want to see in your next video.
No, you don't.
That's right. Let's just have a look. Oh, here's an unusual one. Just Lord Such is asking. I have often wondered if removing suckers from tomato plants hinders the carbohydrate production for the whole plant, as the leaves on the suckers produce the sugars. Now, JB, I'll jump to you first with that question. Then I'll read it again, just so you get the gist of it. There, 1 second. Lord Such is asking. He's often wondered if removing the suckers from tomato plants, obviously the leaf, the stem, the suckers, hinders the carbohydrate production for the whole plant, as the leaves on the suckers produce the sugars.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's the leaves on the stem as well that produce the sugars, right? I don't think there's anything special about leaves that come from suckers. Is that correct? I'll open that one up to the panel. Um,
Gonna have to push you, JB. You got 5 seconds.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that. So look, I don't think it's an issue because the sucker is not just leaves. It's also going to be flowers and things that put more demand on your plants. You're going to have additional trusses, and it's kind of about balancing that with what's already there. So I don't think taking off the suckers does any harm, so long as you've got a normal, healthy stem, healthy plants, healthy leaves that can produce all the things that the tomatoes
Yeah.
need. That's my take.
I was going to, Steve, I'll jump to you this because I know probably you agree with JB there. But on the flip side of it, you know what I mean? So I wonder how much the leaves do produce because I don't strip them totally bare, but I certainly kind of almost,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about? Take the leaves right off there. You know what I mean?
I know.
Good ventilation. And
while the leaf is green, it's photosynthesizing and producing for the plant. If you rip it off, it can't photosynthesize for the plant. But with the suckers, I think you might benefit from a couple of leaves at the top of a sucker on the plants. But bear in mind, they're only going to be small for quite some time. And the power that it's taken from the plant itself to grow that sucker, I reckon probably far outweighs what it will actually give back to the plant.
Very well put. Yeah.
But again, going back to me kind of stripping them plants, and like I say, I had a look at Charlie Dowden does it as well. Do you know what I mean? So, and just going off a taste, I'm starting to kind of bring in my little kind of harvest now. And again, I'll just kind of that black strawberry there. The taste was phenomenal. Do you know what I mean? It's just like sweet. So, could our palates detect losing the leaves? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I mean, the leaves are there to help the plant grow and to help. It's nothing really to do with the flavour. I think it's more to do with what the plant draws up from the soil and what it gathers from the sunlight. It's the ripening process that puts the flavour into the tomatoes. So the more leaves you've got on there, it is a balancing act, I mean, at the moment, I've taken the bottom leaves off my tomato plants, but only the ones that touch the soil. The rest are staying on because they're putting the power into that plant. When I've got fruits that are nearly ripened and they're covered with the leaves, then I'll take those leaves off, let the sun get at them and ripen them. And if there's any sign of botrytis or mold or mildew around the plants, then I'll take leaves off. Otherwise, it's like having a watch with 20 cogs and taking 10 out and saying, get it on with
it. Audrey, any thoughts on this topic about taking the leaves off, losing any like sugar flavors from a tomato?
I really have to agree with JB on this one. They're really just more plants that are growing off the side of our current plant. So I think it's just duplicating what's already there. I've never heard that it changes the flavor. I could be completely wrong on that, but I've never heard anything like that.
Right.
I take them off of my indeterminate. I don't take them off my determinate. So
I'm just going to put a question on there from Karen. Karen Fox is asking, cabbage white caterpillars have destroyed my white cabbages and Brussels sprouts, even though she covered them with scaffolding netting. How can I destroy them all? Oh, wait, I love that. How can I just destroy them all so I can replace the plants? How can you destroy every cabbage whitefly? I don't think there's an easy answer.
I curse them every time I see them flying by.
Oh, I know. And I love like JB, you had that netting picture, and you know what I mean? And that's where we're getting that whole kind of.
What's the bloody point?
You know what I mean? It was
that's
just.
That's where it's from.
You know what I mean? It's just, there is no easy answer. Unless you're going to start like kind of, I guess, dosing your leaves with chemicals, you know what I mean? That go down the week.
BT.
Yeah.
What was that?
Work.
Oh, yes.
You've
used that
but you have to reapply that after every rainfall, which right now, for me, would not be a problem. Um, yeah, so you have to kind of keep up on that. But I think that's probably almost a better way than this netting
Hmm.
because I've had so many whites in under my netting that I kind of can't believe how do they get in there?
Let's just
But they
have a
do.
little. Let's just have a little quiz then. We'll start with JB. JB, what does BT stand for?
Oh, I can't remember. It's something like Bacillus thuringiensis or something like that. Is that right?
Oh,
I don't know.
let's
Can't
go to
remember.
Stephen. Let's see if the old boy knows it.
A BT,
Yes.
Bacillus thuringiensis.
Oh, you see, he got it then.
Close.
Did you know, Audrey?
Yes.
Yes, that's right,
Yeah.
right. It's a
Of course you did.
We pronounce it a little different over here.
Bacillus thuringiensis. I was with thuringiensis.
Thuringiensis.
But what I've noticed, though, it's a bit of a difficult thing to mix, especially on, say, like the cabbagey things where they're almost like waterproof, bulletproof. Anyways, you know what I mean. If you don't get that mist fine enough, it can the run off and things like that. I'd still go with netting, but yeah, BT if you can get. But it's a hard thing to pick up, Bacillus thuringiensis. So.
Sorry.
Funny enough, I got some and have used it each year. I haven't this year dug it out, and I don't know, I don't know if my nettings are standing up to test of time. I suppose I've still got cabbages, but I'm getting more snails this year. Is kind of my pest has been more snails. Just going into like because I'm watering a hell of a lot, there is some lovely damp areas there. Although kind of ground's dry, it's like most days there's water coming down, so I'm getting hit with snails. So
I'm surprised you need to water as much as you do, considering you've got no dig beds there. I mean, that by now, because I know you've been doing it for a bit longer than myself, they must be quite deep now in compost and almost self-mulching. I'm surprised you actually need to water that much.
There was, when was it? A couple of videos ago, Steve, I can't remember. I took my hand in and it was bone dry for, you know what I mean, for a good depth, you know what I mean? And it was like puddling on the top and it was hard to mix in and it was just like, that had to be literally soaked. And, you know, we were talking about, like, say, your onions before there and kind of my spring onions, what, like a second batch of them, just look pasty, pale green, you know, and it just looks like they haven't got enough kind of water goodness in them, you know, it's like a baked, parched earth kind of thing, and it's a kind of, it's what's the bloody point? That's what the bloody question is. So, have we got any kind of foolproof plan? Do you think BT for Karen for the cabbage white, Bacillus Karen thuringiensis? That's as close as you're going to get me seeing it, anyway. So
I haven't used it this year. I've used scaffolding netting so far, simply because I haven't seen that many butterflies around. I have grown a few early brassicas this year, and I mean, I had those big Caraflex cabbage. 3 of them have been attacked by something, probably slugs. And I think I did say a couple of caterpillars on them, but I've just left them in the bed. I've got kind of a lax attitude to pests. If they're concentrating on, you know, like one cabbage there, but leaving the others alone, I'll leave them alone. I mean, they've got to eat as well, you know, so I'm kind of lax like that. I don't worry too much about the pest itself.
I've got to disagree, Stephen. If I see like a cabbage and I see like a hatchling, well, I don't know what a kind of that is for, like loads of caterpillars on a plant, it almost kind of revolt, you know what I mean? It's like bile comes up and I go, oh, get up, and I'm squashing, you know, it's just like, I've got to like, I cannot.
So I think you do have some Corleone in you. You make a bloodbath out of that. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but it is. It's almost like a repulsion when I see all like the caterpillars. I'm thinking, you're kidding us. Do you know what I mean? If I
Well,
could,
it's those kind of things that will drive you crazy on an allotment plot or in a garden and make you do too much. So you end up being that person that you were talking about earlier about having that extra steam. If you have a bit more of a lax and lazy attitude to it, still get the important jobs done, but don't sweat the small stuff, really.
no, I sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, what I think,
Like,
but those, if you had an infestation of caterpillars on one cabbage, that could spread quickly. I mean, I
Yeah.
would just cut it off, and you could
Yeah.
maybe lay it outside the bed and just go, here. This is your food, fine. But get out
Yeah,
of the
that's what I
get out
do.
of my netting. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
would
do that.
definitely cut that out.
I couldn't
Yeah.
just leave it and just like, hey, we're all chill here. Let's just get on together. No, it would be, if I could, it would be a flamethrower.
Yeah, 12-bore
And you
shotgun.
have one. And you have
I
one, so
know,
you
I
can
know.
use it.
And I'm lethal in my sliders with it as well.
God.
Listen, all right. We've just been talking about prickles on cucumber. Robin's asking, what causes the prickles on cucumbers to turn black? I have one plant doing this. Right, so Robin must have like a few plants, but one of the actual prickles are turning black. Now, I've never heard of this. I'm not.
Me either.
No, does that ring a
I
bell
haven't
for
heard of it.
anybody?
I mean, the
have
only
one.
thing I can think is that when it goes to a point, it'd be quite fine, and it might be getting burned by the sun. But other than that, I've not heard of it, and I wouldn't know.
I have one doing that on a salt and pepper cucumber, and I thought that's maybe why it got that name, was because it's a white cucumber, but it has little black spikes.
Right.
Oh, right.
So I thought that was the name, like
So
that's where they got it, because it
so
kind of
this-
looks like salt and pepper.
The skin's white, Audrey, is it?
Yeah,
Right.
or or very very light green.
Uh-huh.
I was very disappointed in the flavor. However, those
Right.
are not getting fermented. Lots of seeds. Oh my gosh. Like it was more seeds than flesh. And I picked it quite small,
Right.
but
Right.
very not pleasant.
So when you're fermenting your pickles, like your cucumbers,
Yes.
are you just taking them, like Audrey, about say 2 or 3, 4 inches, that kind of size?
Well, it kind of depends. If you miss a cucumber one day, it's much larger the next day. So I'm making this batch of pickles are pickle slices,
Right.
so it's less determined on the size.
That's cheating.
My cucumbers are going to be coming in hard the next few weeks, and that's when I'll probably do spears and whole pickles.
Off the top of your head, Audrey, can you
Yes.
just throw away your recipe, or do you need? Have you got is it quite a intense recipe for your pickled
Well,
sauce juice?
it's all about the pickling.
Yes, like your actual ingredients to make your pickle.
Oh, well, the ingredients are really easy. It's more the ratio of salt to water. So it's water, salt, and then really whatever flavorings you want to do. And I'm doing dill with mustard seed, peppercorns, some pig peppercorns. I think there's one more thing in there. Garlic, yes. But it's more about the water to salt ratio that's important.
Right.
So that's a fermentation, not a pickling.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So right. I'm kind of not. I'm not singing
Right.
from the same.
But I
hymn
do have some
sheet.
pickle recipes too.
Well, all
But I
don't know if I
you
could-
send them over. You send
Okay.
them over to me.
Oh, okay.
Pickling is vinegar,
do.
right? Which is, I guess, a little bit less
Exactly.
Yeah.
prone to
Yeah.
Exactly.
something
That's
going
more
wrong.
like a brining, isn't it, really?
Right. Yep, will do.
Right. Well, listen, I think we've come to that time. I'd seen in the comments last week, people were saying, why don't we last a bit longer? Now, I was just kind of seeing how my esteemed guests would notice, but we've ran over by 20 minutes already.
I hadn't actually. I was enjoying that.
Oh, this goes
yes.
so fast.
Let's
So-
go quick.
Keep going till 1:30.
It's just, well, why don't we, we'll have a little chat afterwards though, but why don't we have our tips of the week? Now, JB had 3 last week, so he was hedging his bet. I bet he's still kept the 2, and he hasn't thought of any new ones. JB, have you got your tip of the week?
I do have a new one, and it came after watching your video recently, Tony, where you were trying to read what you'd written on your plant labels.
Right.
And when I went to visit Chili Chump, he had this thing for his labels that I'd never seen before, but it's a wax pencil that you can get.
Right.
And they have multiple different uses, but they're so good for plant labels because it's like waterproof, it doesn't rub off, it's like completely stubborn. You can get it off at the end of the season. But yeah, that's my tip. Have a look at wax pencils because that stuff stays on your plant label and you will actually remember what you planted.
It's funny because I was 100% JB. I was 100% into kind of, someone told us in one of my comments, like a nice HP pencil is great, you know, the graphite there. But I bought the last lot of labels I got, which was from Premier Seeds Direct, didn't work with the pencil. It just wasn't compatible. And that's one of them labels was the ones that wasn't, and it's almost too shiny, the label. So my handwriting is absolutely shocking anyways. But given that on top of a shiny label, it just like was slipping away. And I still don't know what them things are. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to hedge my bets and say it's sorrel, but I don't know.
Yeah. Someone's just asked if the wax melts in the sun, but Chili Chump's greenhouse is like 50 degrees and 50 degrees C, and they're all right. They're all right in there.
His fuel bill must just be like out of this world. Do you know what I mean? Just kind of.
What do you mean? That's the sun.
Oh well, I know, but like when I'm thinking though as well, there's no sun wherever he is in February. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, he's he does need to think about heating the stuff in February quite well. But he's got a little potting shed that's all insulated and all that. But yeah, it does get expensive around that time of year.
Stephen, tip of the week, sir.
While your tomatoes are growing and the plants are growing up, don't cut the leaves off. We've done that one. Did that? That's ages old. And we've done the composting chilies one. We've done that one as well. Yeah. No, when they're growing up, if you're growing them up canes or a string, just give them a knock with like I've got here, a pen. Just give them a knock, and that will shake the pollen out of the flowers and help to pollinate the flowers. So you can either just tap the plants or tap the cane, tap the string, whatever is supported, and it'll just help and aid pollination of your tomatoes.
You didn't do that in the polytunnel number 3.
Yeah, I had a question for Steve that I meant to ask earlier.
All right, go away.
I wondered if it was an issue or could it be an issue for the tomatoes setting fruit caused by humidity? You know, like, have you kind of had a think about what the humidity levels are in the greenhouse and what tomatoes need? Because that can be an issue with chili peppers. It's not so bad in this country because, you know, generally you're going to be close to the sea, relatively speaking. And, you know, generally it's pretty humid in the UK.
But, JB, what Steve's I'm just kind of jumping in, Steve, I'll let you have a little chat. He's got tomatoes in other tunnels and they're all kind of working, you know what I mean? They're all kind of fruiting. It's only this one that's got a little bit of kind of poor ventilation, which soon will get the ventilation. So what do you think, Steve?
I mean, JB's right. I mean, it could be contributory. I don't really know without doing any sort of test with a meter of some description. I wouldn't know. But the one thing I do know is that the leaves on those plants are all curled up, and that's down to temperature. So it's getting too hot in the day and too cool at night, and the temperature is just too vast. I mean, they could even be sort of half shut down. But I think having these new windows, which will get sorted out this week, will help and aid them moving forward. I might have lost a certain amount of crop lower down on the plants, but hopefully I can bring that back round. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
I've had
and if it doesn't happen, you'll find me hanging like that from the polytunnel on a rope.
What were you going to say, JB?
Yeah, I was going to say I've had the same thing, dry set on some of the tomatoes, and it was the ones that were stressed.
Yeah.
And I think that was just lack of water. Actually, I had a few people saying that quad grows and beefsteak tomatoes don't go well together because it doesn't give them quite enough water. So that might have actually been what was causing the blossom end drop that we talked about last week as well.
Again, JB, see, I'm kind of struggling with that because that's camera's gone.
Can't see you, Tony.
Yeah, one second. I'll put that one on. You've got that kind of constant water though, JB, with the quad grows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it's like a little, but it's constant. So I don't know. I would have thought it would have been kind of okay. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, lots of other people saying the same thing though. So I
Audrey,
think they just need a bit of extra in the pot.
The tip of the week, madam.
I want to talk just a minute about herbs or herbs. Perhaps.
Herbs, yes.
Thank you.
Don't forget to harvest those. I know a lot of people grow them, but don't really harvest them. Like harvest them now and bring them in and dry them so that you can actually use them. The other part of this tip is don't harvest them like a month before your first frost, because anytime you harvest an herb, it's gonna prompt more growth, and you want the growth to be more established before those frosts come in, and that's mainly a perennial herb. And it also is a great time right now to split them. Good time to dig them up, split them, clean them up, and get them so they can get re-rooted and established before the winter comes.
Audrey, just when you mentioned about herbs there, because I've done exactly that. I've got two little oregano. Oops, that's the wrong one. Two little oregano bushes, but they've went to flower.
Right.
Have I missed my chance to kind of to dry them out? Or
well, the flavor is best before they flower.
Right.
But if they flowered, you're still going to get a nice. You just cut the flowers off and then dry what's left. But you can split those now too. It'd be fine.
No, right. There we go then.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to call it a day there because the camera's gone again on the heat one. I'll bring on this one back that I'm on there now. I'll move this to the center one again till I work out why that's cutting out. But I think we've had a fab time. I would just like to say, yes, Stephen, a big thank you for coming in. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
You're welcome, Charles.
Yes, thank you. Remembered. JB, thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
We've realised now Italian pin-up gardener for all that, you know what I mean? Ripped. You know what I mean? Everyone, go and have a look at that. The guns are out on that little tight T-shirt.
Not quite. We'll get there. We've had a lovely comment from Paul Lewis in the chat. Have a look at that one if you can see it.
I'm still on the I'm on the cues. So what's it? Read it out forward.
He said, "Us four are the best he's ever seen on YouTube in the last few months. He tuned in for garden tips and hasn't laughed this much in ages. Keep it up."
That's lovely, Paul. Thank you very much. Thank you, Audrey. Always a pleasure again. Thank you so much. You are a little star.
This was great fun, as always.
And don't forget my pickling recipe. You know what
I will not.
I like the idea of slicing cucumbers. I'm pulling cucumbers, Audrey. That would make you blush. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? So
I think it might make you blush. I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
So,
dear.
You know what I mean? So I would like
if you have a pickle that you like, that you can keep that brine from a store-bought pickle, and you can add cucumber slices to that.
Right.
Or just save the brine and use it again.
Right. Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right. Because we've got Costco's do the pickled gherkins, which I'm quite partial to. So
yeah,
so good.
If you go down that route as well, you can go into making your own pickling vinegar as well. You can grow it, keep it long enough, and you'll make a mother vinegar, which is like kind of like a syrupy, gooey stuff, and you can make your own vinegars from that as well. So, all good things.
All good things. But Stephen, all good things must come to an end. Yes. So I would just like to say thank you everyone that's been in the chat. That question. If you haven't had your question, pop it into the Discord. We might not get it straight away, but we're all there 24/7, or someone might answer it for you there. And again, don't forget, like I said, there's the Discord. I don't know, I was going to show you that, but the channel, we're going to have one more week on this my channel. Then we're actually moving over to the Potty Mouth Garden Club one as well, so that would be lovely to see there. And we've got lots of things, or I've got lots of things planned for that channel as well, not just a Monday night, but all sorts going on there as well. So thank you indeed. We will be here next Monday. Everyone, I would like to show, but I'm not actually on that picture, but I'll just say goodbye.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Take good
Cheers,
care,
everyone.
everyone.
Have a great
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.